I feel like people who listen to this show already know the work that our friend Leigh McGowan does. Politics Girl joins us on the air. Leigh, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on finishing your book. How are you doing today?
I know. I'm doing great. Today is the day my book dropped, and it's my first book, so I'm feeling good.
Oh, my God. Okay, so for folks who aren't maybe on social media as much as I am, I discovered you a couple of years ago, and I'm a stand-up comic. I talk about politics. I'm more of a, rolling up my sleeves, and I go door knocking, and I've always wanted to have the sort of the way you have of breaking things down. You are so masterful at it, and I think you must have heard this a lot during the pandemic. I don't know how I would have made it through that horrifying time without people like you. So thank you on behalf of so many of us who haven't had a chance to say it directly to you. But do you hear that a lot?
Oh, Patti, thank you so much. And yes, you know what? It is surprising how often people say kind things like that. And I think because the pandemic was such a bananas time for everyone, and we were watching the world literally unfold in a place where we weren't even interacting with it anymore. And it made us feel so removed. And then I ended up doing my project, which most people who know me don't know me from the podcast or even from this book that's coming out. They know me from my kitchen, because I do these rants from my kitchen where I break down, complicated political issues in simple person speak. We all talk like normal people. So I just sit down and I say, here, this is why we're talking about the documents issue. And what we need to understand is blah, blah, blah. And I talk the way normal people talk. I often say, I'm saying what people can't put into words, or I'm thinking what people, they can't quite figure out what they want to say. And then they go, that's the thing that, yes, exactly. And I think also because I did it from my own home,
Yes.
Everyone else was stuck in their own home, and they thought, okay, well, someone's talking to me. That's terrific.
It really was, and I have to tell you, both Jen Esposito and I will play clips of your material, and the one that sticks with me, and that when people come at me, because I do go door knocking, I am helping candidates. I'm starting a group called Fibs for Wisconsin, because people in Wisconsin, we call them cheeseheads, they call us effing Illinois bastards, and I'm embracing that and going to Wisconsin, despite any sort of harshness. But it's much more rural where I'm going. There is a lot of conflict when I ring a bell, and I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to come back to some of the things that you talk about as far as why I'm a Democrat. There was one that you did, which is that, look, if the Democrats changed their values and their morals, and they were against women's reproductive health, if they were against civil liberties, all the things, I was like, yes, that's why I'm a Democrat. It's not perfect, but this is the best I can do right now. And you said that all for me. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. I mean, here's the thing. Most of the time, it's just thoughts that are in my head that turn out to be in a lot of other people's heads, too. And I think that's what we need to keep in mind when people tell us how divided the country is. That honestly, most of us are having very similar thoughts. It's why I built the book around what I call the 6 fundamental American principles, right? 6 things that we could all agree, no matter where we sit on the political spectrum, make America, America, right? Things like America is a land of freedom, or every citizen should have a vote and that vote should count. It feels like very basic American civic stuff, and yet these are the foundations that are all under attack right now. And it doesn't matter where you sit on the political spectrum. It doesn't matter if you are hardcore MAGA or a real progressive, lefty. You're going to say, yeah, no, I agree with that principle and that principle and that principle. And so what I tried to do was break down and say, okay, look, let's all start on common ground then. We agree with these 6 things. Let me tell you historically why we think those are American values, where we went off track, and then how to get back on track. Because I don't just set up a book of problems. I set up a book that explains the problems and then lays out solutions. And that's what I think I've done in my rants, and that's what I keep trying to do with the American government.
And the book, by the way, folks, as Leigh McGowan just mentioned, is A Return to Common Sense, How to Fix America Before We Really Blow It. I have to leave that out there because
don't we want to do that? We have to.
Yeah.
We don't want to blow it. I mean, literally, I think most of us can look around and go like, oh boy,
Yeah.
We kind of, we're on the edge here, and I'm not sure most of us would want to be here. And so I think the thing is what I want to say, okay, let's pull back. Let's not be that spinning car on the cliff's edge where everyone's leaning backwards before we fall into the abyss of autocracy. And let's get ourselves back onto, solid ground and then set a far better course. I think most people in the nation would want that. And what I wanted to do was make it simple, make it easy. I wanted to do the work, basically all the research and everything for you, and then make it conversational. So you can go out into the world the same way I do with my rants and say, I feel smarter. If you want to talk about the filibuster, I can talk about that. You want to talk about money and politics? I gotcha. I want people to go out into the world and have these conversations. And the easiest way to do that is when you feel smart. So my project has never been about me looking smart. It's about people feeling smart. And I want you to be able to go out into your world and be like, actually, let's talk about money and politics because I got some thoughts because you know what you're talking about.
Outstanding. I'm nodding at my guests in studio who are also my co-hosts, and Rick Gieser wanted to.
Yes, well, I'm running for Forest Preserve Commissioner in DuPage County here, and I was out and knocking on doors over the weekend. And you say we all agree on these 6 things. I may have to challenge you on that because I ran into people who did not believe that people are having fairness in the elections. They were talking about how they're convinced that people who are not citizens are voting.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but I would say the principle would be that every citizen should have a vote, and that vote should count. And if you talk to the person at the door, they would say, yeah, I agree with that.
And I countered with that, and I taught, but they still believe that may be the situation, that may be the goal, but that's not the practice.
But to Leigh's point, I would say, so it's every citizen should have a vote, and that vote should count. And when I'm at the doors, I'm not going to push it past that. I'm not going to go into that's not happening. It's also conserving time, Leigh. Right?
It's true. I mean, because I have to hit 100 doors,
Yeah.
So
you have to. There's also self-preservation emotionally and physically in these times. And how do you do that, Leigh? When it comes to, I mean, sometimes you'll go after the trolls. I know that you have to let a lot of it roll off of you. I don't know what that process has been like for you throughout this entire adventure, but talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I think anyone that has dealt with a series of trolls, anyone that puts themselves online is asking for it in many ways. But I think the thing is that one of the things about my project to begin with is that I started this from a place of to educate and inspire. I started this because I'm an immigrant who moved to this country, and I loved it. I bought into the brochure, fully, the land of the free, home of the brave, place where anyone from anywhere could make it if they worked hard enough. I bought America hook, line, and sinker. And then I lived here for a certain period of time, and I thought, we are not exactly living up to the values we tell the world we are, that we sell to the world. And that doesn't mean we can't, but it does mean that we need to do some work here. And so as an outsider, I thought, okay, let's start talking about that. So I guess when it comes to the trolls, if my goal was always to educate people about what's gone wrong, what's going right, what we can do about it, and to inspire them to, join, to do a phone bank, to knock a door with Rick, to, be out there in the world, even just to have a conversation with your dad when he says something asinine at the dining room table. Those moments, if I could inspire them to do that, that's what I was there for. So if someone wants to come on and tell me to shut up and make them a sandwich, I'll let them, right? Because that's not, I'm not there to be famous. I'm not there to be loved. I'm not there so that you think I'm cool. I'm there to help this country that I moved to, had a child in, and still so wholeheartedly believe in.
I think you're cool.
Where are you from?
God bless. That's right. I'm from Toronto. I'm Canadian.
Oh. Is that okay? Is that okay, Dwayne?
That's better than America.
Well, listen, I'm a dual citizen. I moved down here after graduate school, and then I married an American. And my first election was for Hope and Change. I voted for Obama, and I really thought that we were, on our way to a newer, better America. And boy, was I wrong. Right? But I think sometimes this is so important. I remember with my son sitting in front of me, we were watching him be inaugurated, and I thought, my son is going to grow up in a far better world than came before. And the first president my son remembers is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Right? So We have to, because that's the age. That's how it is. For as far as he's concerned, that's the first president he truly remembers.
Yeah.
And so, I had him in this country. I can't just say, well, I'm packing up my bag and going off to Canada. I'm not going to do it because I really do believe this country needs people who believe in it and want to fight for it. And if I happen to be one of those people, then I'm going to stick around and do what I can.
We're talking to Leigh McGowan, which is so surreal to me. Return to Common Sense, How to Fix America Before We Really Blow It is now available wherever you buy books. And I'm so thrilled for you. And like I said, I mean, I saw you at the DNC, but I there were so many people that wanted to talk to you. And I want to touch on that a little bit because there was a whole thing. I'm media, but I'm not a journalist. I'm a commentator. So I sort of have a weird space in between the creators and the journalists. And I kind of, all the responses from the creators, I agree that, the journalists don't get to have a bar and free food and the griping that happened there. I don't know if you got in the middle of any of that sort of drama. Did you catch on any of that?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I think the general media was sure. I mean, you couldn't help but listen to the griping. I mean, and it always made me laugh because they're like, they've got food and drinks. And I was like, I've had 10 of these Sprite wannabes and, a hot dog. So I don't know. I basically didn't eat for 5 days. And I think that the thing is, I thought the Democrats were really smart to include a certain amount of people like me who are content creators because I believe that the mainstream media has left a big hole in the market for where truth and facts needs to be because they've moved to a land of spin and profit, right? Like that's their business model now. We used to have, 80 some odd companies that owned American media, and now we have six companies own 90% of American media, and that's a problem. And you can see that when you watch mainstream media with the, attempt to both sides thing that don't have both sides, this attempt to give equal time to people who are saying, climate change doesn't exist to the 80, to the 9 out of 10 scientists that say it does. That's not, it doesn't help people. And it's normalized people like Trump. It's normalized things like Project 2025. It's normalized things that cause our Haitian immigrants in Ohio to be in danger without calling these people out. And I think that social media creators don't have that paycheck, first of all, looming over them, that they can say what it is that needs to be said. And so I thought it was very smart that the Democrats invited us to really give the full story because they certainly didn't tell us what to say. We weren't given any talking points. They just said, come, have access, and let your followers know what we're doing here because I think they believe in what they're doing. And I think when you look at people that don't believe in what they're doing, those are the ones closing, they're the Ron DeSantis's closing off the press so people can't watch what they're doing. And I think it's really important that they let us in and said, tell your people what they think.
I do want to make sure, because I did possibly end up in the creators area and had a couple drinks, and I do want to ask you not to base your opinion of Chicago hot dogs on what was served in that room.
They were good.
Oh my God, no! They were. Don't even get me started on hot. No.
Patti,
yes,
I have to tell you, I had never been to Chicago before, and I absolutely thought that city was spectacular. I can't believe I've never been. It's such a cool city. And my son is getting up to the college age, and I'm like, you need to look at Northwestern. You need to look at these, because this city is fantastic. Yes. So I would happily go back and eat many more hot dogs.
I will, yes.
Just maybe not spend the entire time in that center.
No, in the arena. Yeah, no, it was
a lot.
We were the United Center.
Time in a center.
I would, if you do come back to Chicago, and when you come back to Chicago, I would be happy to show you around both some of the campuses. I went to Northwestern. I have family that's gone to U Chicago. Any of the campuses, I would love to and good food. I will do. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Hello.
Hello. Did I lose you? Oh no! Did we lose a politics girl? Something happened to our phones. Oh, just a moment. Lady B will get her back. Do I look like I'm dorking out a little bit over politics? It's funny because I will send Dwayne. Hey, Leigh, can we hear you? She can't hear us. We're going to try it back. I am dorking out a little bit. Can you tell? I have a girl crush on Leigh McGowan, and I don't think that's it's inappropriate to say out loud.
Where can we find her?
She's a huge TikTok star. You can find her on Twitter. It's a Politics Girl, and the book is a Return to Common Sense: How to Fix America Before We Really Blow It. Available wherever you can pick up incredible books like that one. But it's at Barnes and Noble, BAM, which is Books A Million, and Amazon.com are some of the places that SimonandSchuster.com will refer you to. And yeah, I started watching her a couple years ago, and it's interesting because it's a lot like my comedy career in that I had this idea of what I wanted to do, and then you start seeing people that are doing, like, manifesting. And Kevin Bozeman said, that's because you're not writing enough, that you're not getting out there. For me, sometimes there's a short circuit between what my brain... Hi, how you doing, Leigh? Oh, she keeps coming in and out. Now we lost her again.
The government.
It feels like, right?
Yeah.
Don't say that. That's creepy. I think this time she got dropped. So we'll see if we can get her back. We can take a quick break and then bring her back so that we have the break done. We are talking to Leigh McGowan. She's finished her book. It's dropped today, A Return to Common Sense. I am fangirling. I apologize to everyone involved who has to watch this nonsense. I'm blushing a little bit. I can feel Dwayne laughing at me a little bit. I think Rick has seen me geek out in front of people that I'm a fan of, so it's all okay. We'll take a break here. Rick Gieser in studio running for Forest Preserve Commissioner of DuPage County. You can see us all. Me and Dwayne Kennedy will be performing at the kickoff this election season with a Laugh event next Thursday, September 26th at the drinks the doors open at 5 because I'll be there doing a show, right? And there's gonna be cocktails and dinner. Come join us. Go to winfielddems.org for more information. Hopefully we'll get Leigh back because I'm a little bit sad. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Okay, we are in studio with Dwayne Kennedy, comedian, writer, performer, Emmy Award-winning for the United Shades of America. He and I will be performing next Wednesday at
Thursday.
I've heard it both ways. Next Thursday, September 26th at the Courtyard Banquets. You can go to winfielddems.org for more ticket information, and we are supporting candidates like Rick Gieser, who's running for Forest Preserve Commissioner, District 6 of DuPage County. And joining us on the line, we've got Leigh McGowan, the author of A Return to Common Sense, the TikTok. Influencer is such an interesting... I hope, Leigh, that you are influencing folks because we need your influence in so many ways. Thank you so much for being patient with our phone lines. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, and I agree. I hope I am influencing people too, although you'll never hear me calling myself an influencer. I think I'm just too damn old.
Oh, please. Well, it's interesting because we were taught you are not too old. First of all, I mean Dwayne Kennedy, who is one of Chicago's most wonderful comedians. We were talking about this a few weeks ago. One of the things that social media has done is that the gatekeepers are gone. Like the gatekeepers are the audience. Like if people catch on to what you do and they like it, that's it, right?
Yeah, Patti, I'm nodding along because that's entirely true. There still are a ton of gatekeepers in regular media who would get on the air, who would do the right thing. I mean, they made an entire movie about Fox News, how you got on the air over there for a long time under the Roger Ailes years. But yeah, no, it is. It's great. It's like, does the audience like what you're offering? And you see social media creators growing these huge audiences, bigger than, some network television shows, because people really do have a hunger for something that isn't being given to them. And I think that the internet has offered us that. And I think you're entirely right.
And I think that it taps into that if you think you have something to offer, give it a shot. But that doesn't mean that, like, if you're not doing it, there's something wrong with you. It's not easy what you do. I can't remember the name of the Chicago historian who built an entire platform on and now does tours, and he has such a great story. He talks about how
Samuelson.
I don't know. It was Dilla, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and he does. He talked about how his first videos took him like 4 to 6 hours. Well, which is a full-time job. That's what you're doing. People think that you're just sitting there with the phone and just something off the top of my head. What you do is. I love how if she was drinking something, she would have spit that out. Because what you do is it's very concise. It's informed. I mean, like, this takes a lot of work. And so, what were the first days of getting this up and running like for you?
Well, first of all, Patty, you're entirely right. It is a full-time job, but I did grow it. When I started this project, it was coming up. This version of the project was coming up onto the Trump re-election, and I thought there's no way that I can sit here at home and watch this happen again without saying something. And so I put the phone in the windowsill of my own kitchen, and I started talking to it. And at the beginning, I made a video a day, which is hard to do. But that's sort of how you start to grow something. But I really was in, I used to call them breakfast rants, because that's really what I was doing. I was ranting in the morning at breakfast and just my thoughts on the day. And they were short and they were concise, because back in the day, a TikTok, it had to be under 59 seconds long. So you really had to hone your message quite quickly. And we came up with a formula of doing that, my husband and I, because he was also stuck at home during the pandemic. We were trapped together, and we created this project. And it really appealed to people. And by the time we got up to 100,000, 200,000 followers, I thought, geez, I guess I should get dressed if I'm going to be doing this. And then I thought, I guess I should put the mascara on. I literally looked like I just rolled out of bed. If you go back and look at my old videos, I'm talking about the Supreme Court, but I look like she just peeled herself out of bed. So by the time we got up to, 500,000, 600,000 followers, I was putting it together and trying to, because I thought, oh, well, people are listening now. I guess I should, elevate what I'm doing, even though it's still very accessible, because it is my home. People now say, oh, she must be working in front of a green screen and she's being paid by whoever, Soros. And I'm like, no, why would this be a green screen? I wouldn't have put a pull-up bar in a green screen. That just happens to be what my husband and son like to use. It's dead ugly, and it's my real kitchen in my real life. And I think that authenticity is what appeals to people.
You said you were nodding your head. I'm nodding my head because I feel like I know your kitchen. And I was telling Dwayne and Rick off the air that, there's this way that you do it that it embodies so much of that rage, that being informed and intelligent. It's cheerfully aggressive is it's the way I want, because you have this rage, but you're not angry. You're just look, why can't you get this? This is important stuff. It's our democracy. It's our freedoms. It's our safety. And I like I said, I love what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And I really hope that you're not alone in that, because I'm such a big believer that we could do so much better by this country. And, sometimes I do rants, but there's a reason I also do the podcast, which is an hour of deep conversations with brilliant people talking about deep subjects. And yet I remain the same. I'm kind of your everyman. And somebody talks in an acronym and I say, no one knows what that is, man. Tell us what it is. And they're like, oh, sorry. It means the Department of blah, blah, blah. Because most of us don't know it. I think often when we watch network television or when we watch experts in the subject, they talk at a level that we're not going to get. So it goes right over our head. And then we don't understand something and we don't come out any smarter. And I think ultimately, if I'm doing research on something, I assume other people will probably need it too. And that's what I'm putting out there.
For folks who might not be familiar with the original Common Sense, tell us about the title of your book, because I have heard your interviews about choosing the title of Return to Common Sense. Available now wherever you buy your books. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, please. Available now wherever you buy your books. I love it. Thank you so much, Patty. Listen, at the end of the day, look, I'm a nerd. I'm a political nerd. I love this country. I love the system of government. I like politics. Politics is a game and government is a job, but I like them both, and I was doing research for my 4th of July episode, and I ended up reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. And Thomas Paine wrote that back in 1776, and it went the modern version of viral, right? He wrote this 47-page pamphlet that was printed and distributed all through the 13 colonies, and people went bananas for it, because this was this man writing in common sense speak for the regular people to understand. And he was making the persuasive argument that we were a nation at a crossroads, and we had one of two ways to choose. We were either going to stay part of the British Empire or we were going to be independent. And he made the argument for independence. And Common Sense, the original Common Sense, is often credited with inspiring the Founding Fathers to actually put the Declaration of Independence down on paper, because Thomas Paine had inspired the American people, back then, the British colonists, to really say, you know what, actually we really are different. We are independent. They this is what we want. And then the founding fathers said, all right, we see that this is what the people want, and we feel that courage. And I think that's where I see us today. We are once again a nation at a crossroads, and we could go one of two ways. And this time it's not monarchy or independent. It's, retaining our democracy or doing some sort of Christian nationalist authoritarian road. And I believe, just like Payne all those years ago, that there's one very clear path that we have to take. And as a progressive radio station, I assume you agree with that path, that we need to shore up our democracy, that the path being offered to us by Trump and Vance and Project 2025 is a terrible travesty and not at all in line with American values, and we should not be going that way. And so I wrote a book to meet this moment because I thought, yet again, here we are at a crossroads, and who's the normal person talking in normal speech to the people? Who will give our leaders the courage to do the right thing at this moment? And I thought, why not me?
Why not you, indeed? And thank you for being you and for doing it. Again, we've been talking to Leigh McGowan. Her new book is out, and you can purchase it wherever you buy books. A Return to Common Sense: How to Fix America Before We Really Blow It. And I'm going to ask the audience, buy your copy, and let's do a book club and invite Leigh McGowan back on so we can talk about it with her, if you would indulge us with that, because we really do need. I think what you mentioned earlier, that what you write down, what's already in our heads, which we all kind of intrinsically know, but struggle with sometimes putting it into words when we're at the Thanksgiving dinner table, which is going to be after the election. So who knows what that's going to be like. Hopefully great, and we won't gloat.
Hopefully great,
right? And maybe we'll gloat, but we'll do it on the inside. But folks, let's all pick up a copy of A Return to Common Sense by Leigh McGowan, Politics Girl. Follow her on TikTok, on Threads, on all the social medias. I follow her on Twitter because I'm still there, just languishing like everybody else, wondering when that's going to go away. But anyway, it's still. Do you stay on? One more question: do you stay on Twitter because it's like, you know what, folks are still here, there's still an audience here, and if we don't, then we leave the vacuum to those guys?
That part, yeah. Although Twitter has become a cesspool,
Yep.
I miss old Twitter. I really do think that they're really just highlighting the worst voices in America, starting with the guy that owns the platform.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I want people feeling smarter. I want them to know the information, and if they happen to be on Twitter, then I'm going to talk to them there as well. People often say to me, like, "Why are you even doing this? You're just preaching to the choir, right? You're just talking to your people." And I'm like, I'm not preaching to the choir. I'm teaching the choir the words to the song, so that they can go out and sing it to other people, right? Because ultimately there's going to be people that hear my words that never heard my voice. Because you saw something I said and then you talked about it at a dinner party, or you saw something I read and you were able to have a better conversation with the person that was like, there's no point in me voting. You would say, actually, that's not true. So there's lots of things that we can do, and I think we have to put ourselves in these places where people can hear us. And I do my work so that people can understand.
And I thank you for joining us here where people are hearing you, and I'm encouraging you guys to check out A Return to Common Sense wherever you buy books. Leigh, we'll talk to you again soon if you'll indulge us. I promise not to take your phone number down and just call you randomly while you're filming.
I love it. No, I'm into it. And let's totally do a book club. It's so fun.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. It's Politics Girl on all social media platforms, and we will talk to her again soon. Yeah, Dwayne's looking at me like, could you stop blushing and fangirling over Politics Girl? Thank you, everybody.